This is the Louie T Network.
In the lab room.
Welcome, you are in the lab room. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me here to break down the Sunday afternoon special. Green Bay Packers versus the Cincinnati Bengals, and what was probably one of the most entertaining games of the day. There were some other games that could rival this in terms of entertainment value, but this was one of the better games of Sunday afternoon. You look at these two teams, I talked about it on Friday in my preview for this game. Two of the better 1-1 teams in the league, and they did not disappoint. Now, it was a sloppy game. A lot of turnovers, things you don't expect from teams that are good. But as bad as it was in terms of turnovers, they still played good football, and that's what good teams do. They find a way to persevere even if they make mistakes. And both of these teams made their share of mistakes in this football game. This was a game of ebb and flow. When Uncle Mo was on your side, you had it going. When he wasn't, when he jumped ship, you were struggling, trying to stay afloat. And so this was a game of ebb and flow, and the team that had the momentum at the end was going to be the one to win, and that's exactly how it unfolded. This game started out, boom, just before you could blink, 14-0. Cincinnati, they go down, they score on the opening possession, great drive by the Bengals. Then they kick it off to the Green Bay Packers. They muff the kickoff. It's recovered by Cincinnati, and about 2 plays later, they're in the end zone once again. It's 14-0 before you can even bat an eyelash. And so the Packers are behind the 8 ball on the road, a vast difference from a week ago when they were the ones jumping on top of their opponent when they played the Redskins in week 2. So the Packers were in uncharted territory. Since Aaron Rodgers has been their quarterback, it's not many times you can recall the Packers being down 14 points this early in a football game. But in typical Green Bay Packers fashion, they weathered the storm, they settled down, they settled in, forced a couple of turnovers, and before you knew it, 30 unanswered points by the Green Bay Packers. And the Cincinnati Bengals did not know what hit them. They fumbled the ball 3 times in this game, did the Cincinnati Bengals. Dalton added an interception, so they had 4 turnovers in this game, and they led to some Packer points. Packers scored 30 unanswered, and all of a sudden, it's 30-14. So Cincinnati is kind of trying to catch themselves as they got a flurry and a barrage of points sent at them. They were able, and again, good teams find a way to weather the storm. They do not run and hide when adversity hits. They stand up and rise to the occasion. That's what the Cincinnati Bengals did at home. They stood up. They forced some turnovers of their own. They got to Aaron Rodgers, picked him off a couple of times, forced some fumbles, and they shaved into this lead. They cut and they grinded. They got a touchdown. They cut it to 30-21. They got another touchdown after a turnover, cut this lead to 30-27 after a blocked extra point. And then the play that changed the game. 4th and 1, a great challenge first and foremost by Marvin Lewis on a bad spot by the officials. They gave the Packers a first down on a 3rd and 8 play that really was about a 7-yard gain or so, 7.5. They gave them 8.5 yards. They pull the ball back about a yard, and it sets up 4th and inches from about the Packers 47 or so. Packers go for it. They don't get it. They are stripped. Jonathan Franklin, who was having a good football game, the rookie out of UCLA, was playing well up until this point. He goes to dive over the top on 4th and inches. Before he can even leave his feet, the ball is stripped from him. It comes out. It's recovered by the Cincinnati Bengals. They go to run it in. It's stripped again. Terrence Newman scoops it up, and he had a big game. He had an interception that led to some points earlier in that 4th quarter. And so he scoops it up, off to the races. He gets in the end zone, and that proves to be the game-winning score as the Cincinnati Bengals take this one in exhilarating fashion, 34-30. What a game this was. fun to watch, a lot of back and forth, a lot of turnovers, a lot of entertaining things going on in this football game. Two really good football teams. We haven't seen the last of these teams in terms of them making plays and winning games in the National Football League in 2013. These are good football teams. They'll be around. They played each other very tight in this contest, and it was a good football game. But if you're the Packers, you can't turn it over. And this is uncharacteristic of the Packers. You can't turn it over 4 times on the road and expect to win. Even though you forced 4 turnovers of your own, you cannot turn it over 4 times, including in a crucial situation late in the ball game, which proves to be the difference in the football game. You can't do that on the road. They did it. They committed a cardinal sin, turning the football over on the road, and it cost them dearly in this game. And so the Packers fall 34-30 in this game versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals get a huge win at home. That's 2 in a row after dropping the season opener on the road at Chicago in heartbreaking fashion there. So now they're 2-1 on the season. Packers drop to 1-2. Bears are 3-0. So Packers got a little bit of work to do. And don't look now, but the Detroit Lions are now 2-1. And so here the Packers are in another early season hole like they were last year. Let's see if they can do some of the things they were able to do last year to dig themselves up out of that hole and still manage to win the NFC North. Big win for the Cincinnati Bengals. They're 2-1. They are tied atop the AFC North with the Baltimore Ravens. Meanwhile, Packers are 1-2 and searching for a little bit of stability as they try to string together a series of wins. They won last week, couldn't make it 2 in a row. They'll look to get back onto their horse. They have a bye, and they don't like the way they're going into their bye, but they're going to have to suck it up, come out of the bye, guns a-blazing. So, thank you for joining me here in the lab room. Remember, if it happens in the NFL, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the lab room. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you next time. Like the content? Want more? Sub up.
In the lab room.